There's a certain gravity in a man who has lived. You can see it in his eyes, the kind that have watched empires of illusion rise and fall. He doesn't rush, he doesn't beg, he doesn't perform. He's walked through storms and the fire didn't burn him, it refined him. When he enters a room, he doesn't need to say a word. People just feel something. It's not status, not wealth, not charm. It's presence, the silent assurance that comes from having nothing left to prove. In a world that worships noise, he is quiet. In a world addicted to validation, he is complete. And that's why women and the world itself are drawn to him. Because presence is rare. And nothing builds presence like stoicism. This video isn't about tricks or games. It's about transformation, the kind that rewires how you carry yourself, how you move through the chaos of life. These 7 habits are not about becoming colder. They're about becoming clearer. They'll make you magnetic, not because you're chasing attention, but because you no longer need it. 1. Emotional control, the fire within. A man who cannot control his emotions becomes a prisoner of them. He reacts instead of responding. He burns bridges that patience could have crossed. He destroys peace that silence could have protected. And worst of all, he mistakes chaos for passion, thinking that feeling everything deeply means he's alive, when in truth, it only means he's lost control of the flame. Emotional control is not suppression. It's not about turning into stone or pretending you don't care. It's about becoming the fire inside the lantern, alive, bright, fierce, yet contained by wisdom. That containment doesn't kill your fire. It gives it direction. Picture this: a storm hits suddenly. Rain crashes against windows, lightning splits the sky. People run, frantic, searching for shelter, shouting, covering their heads. And there, in the middle of it all, stands one man. He doesn't run. He doesn't yell at the sky. He simply watches, breathing slow, steady, as if his heartbeat is synchronized with the thunder itself. He knows the truth every Stoic understood. Storms are temporary, but the mountain remains. That is what real emotional mastery looks like. You don't fight what you can't control, you anchor yourself within it. You don't collapse under emotion, you channel it. You understand that anger, jealousy, fear, they're not your enemies. They're wild horses. Left unchecked, they'll drag you through the mud. But if you learn to hold the reins, they'll carry you to greatness. A man's calm is not emptiness, it's direction. It's the deep knowing that not everything deserves a reaction. When she tests you, when she pulls away, when she acts cold or confusing, she's not always trying to hurt you. She's trying to see if you can hold space for her chaos without becoming part of it. She's asking silently, "Can you stay grounded while I lose my balance?" If you can, she feels safe. Not because you said the right words, but because your energy told her the truth. You're steady. A man's calm is a lighthouse. It doesn't chase the ship. It doesn't scream across the ocean. It simply shines. And everything lost, everything frightened eventually finds its way home to that light. Emotional control doesn't mean you never get angry. It means you decide how and when that anger serves you. It doesn't mean you never get sad. It means you don't drown in sadness. You let it teach you empathy, not weakness. And it doesn't mean you're cold. It means you've learned that heat without guidance burns, but heat with focus forges steel. Every man must choose what kind of fire he will be. The wildfire that destroys everything, or the flame that gives light and warmth. When you learn to hold your emotions like that, to breathe through the storm, to stand when others tremble, you stop being reactive. You become radiant. People feel it. Women feel it. Because calm energy is the rarest kind of power in this world, the kind that doesn't demand attention, yet commands it completely. And that is the essence of emotional control, not to be untouched by the storm, but to be unmoved within it. 2. Strategic silence, the language of power. Most men are terrified of silence. They see it as emptiness, a void that must be filled with words, jokes, or noise to feel relevant. But the wise man knows that silence is not emptiness. It's discipline. It's a tool sharper than any argument, heavier than any speech. When you stop explaining yourself, something fascinating happens. People begin to reveal themselves. They fill the space with their own motives, their own fears, their own truths. Silence turns into a mirror, and suddenly, what you thought you needed to say, the world says for you. That's why silence isn't passivity, it's precision. It's the pause before the archer releases the arrow. It's the inhale before the swordsman strikes. It's the calm that builds the tension that makes truth land like thunder. In conversation, every word you speak either strengthens or weakens your presence. The more you speak to prove yourself, the less power your voice carries. But when you hold your tongue, when you speak only after thought and never from impulse, every syllable gains weight. People lean in. They listen differently. Because silence makes them earn your words. Mystery isn't born from manipulation. It's born from restraint. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about not giving everything away at once. It's about letting others sit in the quiet long enough to feel your depth. Because when you can hold silence comfortably, people start to wonder, what kind of man doesn't rush to fill the void? What kind of man feels no need to impress? That's when silence turns magnetic. You stop chasing attention, and attention begins to chase you. When she asks a question, pause. Not to play games, but to think, to make your answer deliberate. When she speaks, listen fully, without interrupting, without preparing your reply. And when tension rises, don't rush to break it. Let it breathe. Let her feel it. Because silence in those moments says what words never can, that you are not afraid of space, not afraid of waiting, not afraid of yourself. Silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of control. It's the quiet confidence that says, I don't need to prove anything. In a world that never stops talking, the man who knows when not to speak becomes unforgettable. Because his words, when they finally come, carry the weight of truth and the gravity of a man who has mastered himself. 3. Calm physical presence, the body as a temple. Before you ever speak, your body has already delivered a message. Before you utter a single word, your posture tells a story about who you are and how you see yourself. Most men give themselves away without realizing it. Nervous movements, restless eyes, shallow breathing. They fidget, shuffle, slouch, as if apologizing for taking up space. But the man who moves slowly, deliberately, and purposefully, he doesn't need to demand attention. He receives it. A calm presence doesn't shout, it radiates. It tells the world, I am at peace with myself. When you walk into a room, walk like time itself bends slightly to your rhythm. When you sit, let your posture say, I belong here. Breathe as if the world cannot rush you. Your movements don't need to be grand, they need to be grounded. Stillness is magnetic. It's rare in a world addicted to noise and motion. The man who can be still while everyone else rushes becomes the anchor in a sea of distraction. He doesn't fidget because he has nowhere else to go. He doesn't dart his eyes because he's not searching for approval. He simply is. Think of a great oak tree, unmoving, unhurried, yet alive with quiet strength. The wind bends it but never breaks it. That's what physical composure looks like. It's not stiffness, it's balance. It's the art of carrying your body as if it were a temple, sacred, ordered, intentional. When you master your presence, people feel it before they understand it. They may not know why the room feels different when you enter, but they'll feel the change in the air, heavier, calmer, safer. Especially women. Her body will react before her mind does. If you're calm, she softens. If you're tense, she tightens. It's biology, two nervous systems communicating in silence. Presence, then, isn't vanity, it's leadership. It's a signal, I don't need to dominate you, I already dominate myself. That's the energy that makes others follow you without being asked. Move like water, soft but unstoppable. Stand like a mountain, silent but unshakable. Look at people fully, not through them, not around them. Let them feel that you see them, but that you are never seeking from them. You don't control the room by being louder. You control it by your vibration, that grounded, steady rhythm that says, nothing outside of me controls what's inside of me. That is calm physical presence, the unspoken strength that turns ordinary movement into quiet power. 4. Controlled attention, the art of focus. Attention is the rarest currency in the modern world, and most men are bankrupt. They spend it carelessly, scattering it across notifications, endless scrolling, and conversations that mean nothing. They chase approval, likes, and attention the way children chase fireflies, dazzled for a moment, empty the next. But the man who has lived, the man who has learned, knows better. He treats his attention like gold, because it is. He doesn't give it to everyone. He invests it where it multiplies, in his purpose, his craft, his growth, his peace. See, attention is not just focus. It's energy. And energy, once given away, doesn't return. That's why the man who guards his attention guards his power. He understands a timeless truth. Attention is the seed of desire. Whatever you water with your attention will grow, whether it's strength or weakness, peace or chaos. If you give your attention to gossip, you grow pettiness. If you give it to distraction, you grow confusion. But if you give it to discipline, you grow mastery. The older man no longer chases validation because he understands how expensive it is. Every time you overinvest your attention in someone else's opinion, you bankrupt your focus on yourself. And no woman, no matter how beautiful, respects a man who has no control over his own focus. A woman doesn't fall for the man who replies instantly. She falls for the man she can't predict, the one who disappears into his mission, into his silence, into his work. She wonders, what holds his mind when I'm not around? And deep down, she already knows the answer. His purpose, his craft, his peace. That's the paradox. Controlled attention doesn't create distance, it creates value. Because in a world where everyone is desperate for attention, the one who withholds it wisely becomes irresistible. When your attention becomes selective, it becomes sacred. Not everyone earns your gaze. Not every conversation deserves your time. Not every distraction deserves your energy. You can tell everything about a man by where his attention goes. The scattered man belongs to everyone. The focused man belongs to no one, and that's exactly why people are drawn to him. So aim your attention like a laser. Use it as a weapon, not a weakness. Don't give it freely. Let people earn it. Because the man who controls his attention controls his world, and the world always respects the man it cannot easily distract. 5. Mastery of time, the kingdom within. Time is the purest reflection of a man's discipline. It never lies. You can say whatever you want about your priorities, your goals, your values, but look at where your hours go, and the truth appears without mercy. Most men live as if they'll be given another lifetime, as if tomorrow will always arrive, as if wasted time somehow returns. They say, "I'll start when I'm ready." But that day never comes, because readiness is a myth. Every moment you delay your purpose, you strengthen your distractions. The man who's magnetic understands something different. Time is a battlefield. Every wasted hour is a victory for mediocrity. Every disciplined minute is a strike against chaos. He doesn't rush, but he doesn't drift either. He moves with rhythm, calm, deliberate, precise. There's no panic in his pace because his path has direction. He knows that being busy isn't the same as being purposeful. He's not addicted to motion, he's devoted to momentum. When a woman sees that your time has structure, something inside her shifts. She senses order, and order feels like safety. Because a man who values his schedule more than her mood isn't cold. He's centered, and she respects him for that. A man who guards his time cannot be controlled. He doesn't chase what interrupts his flow. He doesn't sacrifice his mission for fleeting moments of comfort. He knows that attention and time are tied. If someone owns one, they begin to own the other. So he builds his days like a fortress. Morning for building strength. Afternoon for purpose. Evening for peace. Each part of his life feeds the other. He doesn't cancel the gym for a date. He doesn't abandon his work for approval. He doesn't check his phone every 10 minutes hoping for distraction. He lives by the rhythm of purpose, not impulse. To master time is to master self. Because the man who rules his hours rules his emotions, his habits, his destiny. That inner order, quiet, steady, unshakable, radiates power more than any status symbol ever could. Every hour you spend either strengthens your foundation or erodes it. And the men who stand out are the ones who treat time as sacred ground, never rushed, never wasted, never surrendered. Time is your kingdom. Rule it well, or watch lesser men rule you. 6. Non-reactivity under pressure. The stillness test. The real test of a man never comes when life is peaceful. Anyone can appear calm when the sky is clear. The truth of who you are is revealed when the storm hits, when the deal collapses, the friend betrays, the woman pulls away, the ground shifts beneath your feet. Pressure strips away the mask. It exposes what training hides. You can't fake composure when the heat rises. Your instincts show up before your words do. That's why non-reactivity is not just strength, it's training. It's the quiet discipline that turns chaos into clarity. When someone insults you, pause. When a woman tests you, smile. When plans fall apart, adapt. In that instant between stimulus and response, a man either loses himself or finds himself. You are not your emotions. You are the space behind them, the deep ocean beneath the waves, silent and immense. The surface may rage with whitecaps, but the depths remain still. That stillness is your power. Most men confuse reaction with strength. They raise their voice, explain, defend, fight to prove control, but every outburst is proof they've lost it. True composure doesn't need an audience. It needs only awareness. Non-reactivity is not indifference, it's wisdom. It says, I've been here before, I know how this ends. It's the understanding that your peace is worth more than being right. that silence cuts deeper than argument, that calm presence can disarm storms faster than aggression ever could. Every strong man learns the same lesson eventually. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control what it means. You decide whether pain becomes bitterness or insight, whether rejection becomes trauma or transformation. A lion doesn't flinch when dogs bark. He doesn't lower himself to prove his size. He doesn't explain. He simply walks, unhurried, unbothered, unshakable. That walk, that calm continuation, is what separates power from panic. To be unmoved is not to be unfeeling, it's to be untouchable. It's to stand in the middle of noise and know your center cannot be taken. Life will test your stillness again and again. It will push, provoke, and tempt you to break formation. But the man who can remain calm when others unravel becomes a force the world respects instinctively, not because he dominates the storm, but because he outlasts it. That is the essence of composure, to remain the ocean while the surface breaks. 7. Silent standards, the unspoken law. A man's worth is never measured by what he wants. It's measured by what he refuses to tolerate. Desire is easy, discipline is rare. Anyone can say they want respect, loyalty, peace, but most men betray those values the moment loneliness whispers in their ear. They say, "I deserve better," then stay in chaos. They preach self-worth, then settle for less. But the man who commands quiet respect, the older, wiser, grounded man, doesn't need to announce his standards. He embodies them. He doesn't shout, "I won't be disrespected." He simply leaves when respect is gone. No drama, no warning, no speech. His silence becomes his boundary, and that silence teaches louder than any lecture ever could. You don't need to punish people to prove your worth. You don't need to explain your principles to those who've already ignored them. You simply walk away and let absence speak the truth they refuse to hear in your presence. That's the unspoken law of power. People only value what they fear losing. And nothing unsettles the careless more than a man who withdraws his energy quietly, without anger, without threat, without guilt. Women feel this instantly, because deep down they know this man cannot be manipulated. He won't be swayed by tears, moods, or temptation. He values his peace more than approval. And paradoxically, that's what makes him magnetic. You see, boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They don't keep people out, they keep your peace in. When you live by silent standards, you're not trying to control others. You're mastering yourself. You've already decided what kind of energy belongs in your life, and you no longer negotiate with chaos. And that decision, that quiet clarity, makes you untouchable. Not because you're above anyone, but because you've stopped sinking to the level of what drains you. The world is full of men trying to prove their worth through noise, through arguments, threats, and declarations. But the man of silent standards moves differently. He doesn't explain, he doesn't justify. He simply removes access. And that silence, that calm withdrawal, is the loudest statement of all. Because when you no longer need to convince anyone of your value, you've already proven it. You've crossed the threshold from wanting respect to embodying it. And that's when your life becomes the lesson, a living reminder that true power doesn't announce itself. It simply leaves when it's no longer honored. Closing reflection, the peace that commands. Being an older man in this loud, impulsive and reactive world is not a disadvantage. It's an advantage few know how to wield. Because while everyone else is shouting to be heard, the older man has learned the value of quiet. While others chase approval, he's found the steadiness that makes him immune to it. And that steadiness, that stillness within the storm, is the new form of strength. Age doesn't weaken a man, it clarifies him. Every scar becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes a filter. He no longer needs to prove he can run faster than everyone else. He knows the real power lies in being able to walk when others are running scared. When you master these 7 habits, emotional control, silence, presence, attention, time, composure, and standards, you stop playing the game the modern world has built around you. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You stop chasing things that were never meant to be yours. And suddenly everything changes. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you command. You no longer react, you design. Your days become deliberate. Your emotions become tools, not masters. Your boundaries become silent, yet unbreakable. You begin to move through life like a man who knows where he's going, even when the path is unclear to others. But remember this truth. The goal isn't domination, it's direction. It's not about towering over people, it's about standing so firmly in who you are that nothing can move you off-center. True masculinity is not hardness, it's precision. It's knowing when to yield, when to speak, when to act, and when to walk away. It's the ability to hold peace and power in the same breath. Because real power isn't loud. It doesn't need to be seen or applauded. It moves quietly, like gravity, invisible but undeniable. It's the power of a man who wakes each morning with calm purpose, walks through the storms of life without flinching, and returns home at night unshaken, unbent, and at peace with himself. Presence is not something you perform for others. It's not a mask you wear or a role you play. It's what remains when you stop seeking attention, when you strip away the noise, the ego, the performance, and all that's left is substance. You want to know what truly makes a man magnetic? It's not his words, his status, or his looks. It's the rare peace he carries, the kind that can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It's the way he listens more than he talks. The way he moves slowly in a world rushing nowhere. The way he treats peace as his greatest possession, not something he bargains away for approval. So walk quietly. Carry stillness. Let your actions whisper the kind of man you are, and let the world adjust to your frequency. Because in a society addicted to noise, silence becomes authority. In a culture obsessed with reaction, composure becomes rebellion. And the rarest thing in this world, rarer than beauty, rarer than wealth, rarer even than love, is a man who remains calm in his own soul. A man whose peace cannot be taken because it no longer depends on anything outside him. That is the peace that commands, not through force, but through presence. Not through noise, but through depth. Not through control, but through clarity. Be that man, not the loudest in the room, but the one everyone feels when he enters it. Because that calm, that quiet authority is the final evolution of power. It's not about winning the world's attention. It's about mastering your own. And that mastery, that inner stillness, is what makes a man truly unforgettable and ultimately irresistible.